I'm Schmid. I'm originally from Wisconsin, so it's good to be back from Mankato High School. Been at Mankato since 2007. I was a player there for 4 years, and then I was a graduate assistant for 2 years. Restricted earnings for 1 year, and then I finally stuck on full-time last year, so I can't hear it. But I just really want to dive in today, talk about what we do and how we teach our progression basically up front on how we with run block instruction. Okay, we'll talk about some of our just overall scheme of how we attack things, some pre-snap keys, our stance and alignment, and then really dive into how we defeat blocks. Okay. Really just wanted to put this up, and not to pump our chest or anything like that, but really to just show what we emphasize in our program. The biggest thing is we've been real successful in defense the last 5 years. We don't go into the year saying we want to be the #1 defense. Okay, the biggest thing that we emphasize with our guys is we don't want to give up points, obviously. So we bend, but we don't break. Bend but don't break mentality. And then we want to stop the run. Absolutely eliminate the run. At first I wanted to maybe talk about pass rush and stuff, and that's the fun stuff. We've led the conference in sacks the last couple of years and everything, but the basic reason why we've done that stuff is because we've got guys behind the chains. So that's what we emphasize to our guys day one, that we want to take away the run. Keys to success up front for us, we want to master our technique. Okay, we're lucky to have some good athletes in our program, but at the same time, we want to take them light years ahead of what they were when they first walked into our program. All right, and it starts with technique. We kind of got a big core of everyday drills that we use with our guys. We'll rotate through those to keep things fresh. But once we get into the nuts and bolts of the season, we're really going to rep those guys with what we're going to see that week. Okay, so that it's like second nature once it gets to the game. Defensively, it may look like we're doing a lot of things on tape, but really we want to keep it simple. Okay, we'll come into a game with probably about 3 to 4, maybe 3 stunts that we want to do up front, but we're not going to match that with every single defensive call that we have that week. Okay, if we do, I'm going to get into a stunt that we used quite a bit this year, was the cross stunt up front with our D tackles. We're only going to use that with our quarters package that week. So we're not going to kind of overload our guys' heads each week. And then with the blitzes as well, we want to keep it simple for those guys. We want basically the language to carry over to different blitzes that we're going to use, so that it's like, hey guys, this one's just like the one we did last week. It's just, maybe just a little bit of a twist. Okay, but that's the biggest thing. We want to keep it simple, and the movements that we do up front, we want to make it so that we're not changing the gaps for the backers a ton. Okay, so like I said, when we do our cross stunts up front, the backers just know they have the B gaps every time we call that. So that's the biggest thing. And ultimately, everybody wants to do it to play fast and physical, but if you want to do that, they have to be able to play fast and not think. Okay, so that brings us back to keeping it simple. Up front, on the defensive line, we have some things that we look at before each snap. Okay, before we get into our stance, before we get into our alignment, and we'll talk about those things. Our defense, when I came in as a freshman in 2007, we got into those pretty huddles and everything, and offenses are starting to speed things up. So the first thing we talk about, all right, is we look to the sideline. Everybody's going to get that defensive call before the play. Okay, and those guys know the signals as well. All right, we look for the substitutions. We're a team that heavily believes in rotating a lot to keep those guys fresh. Other things that we talk about before the snap that we really want to be clued into is backfield sets. We've really kind of gotten into to clear some of the confusion for those guys so that they can play faster up front as well. And it's mostly our defensive ends that do this, but we're going to use a me-you call, and this really comes into play when we play gun offset teams. So our ends line up. I guess backing up for a second, we're a 4-3 defense, okay, so we're not 3-4 or anything like that. We're basically a 4-2-5. We play with our nickel package because we're not seeing 21, 22 personnel every single week, like years past. But our ends, like I said, are going to be really clued into the backfield set because it tells them a lot before the play. Okay, again, these are first, second down that we're talking here. Okay, so when the back's away from me, I'm gonna give myself a me call. Because where do you most likely think the run's going if the back's away from you? It's going towards you. Okay, that's what the percentages say. Obviously, there's other runs that can go the other way. But he's going to give myself, he's just going to say me to myself. Okay? He's going to say you. Okay, he's saying the run's going to you. So those guys will talk through that thing just to kind of, understand what type of run that they'd be getting. And there's some weeks where we got to, lay off that a little bit. You can't glue into it as much. But we'll get into it, but that will change their alignments as well once they realize, hey, I'm the guy that the run's coming to, or the run should be going away from here. And we'll talk about that. We'll also look for swipers. Okay, anytime we have two backs in the backfield set, those guys are going to communicate that thing. Right here. Okay, we got a fullback over here on the right. Usually the end that's covered up by the tight end, we don't see a ton of arc and kick out. So he's going to assume that the swipe's going to his partner over here. Okay, so they're looking for that stuff. We're going to get a swipe call. Okay, so the call side end over here will yell swipe, and he should see it as well. So that changes his mindset. We'll talk about the alignment here in a second and how that would affect him. So those guys are looking for that each snap. Week by week, comes in with film study, but taking a look at the offensive linemen's stances, 2-point, 3-point, what they're doing out of those things, that makes a difference. Whether they're heavy in their hand, light in their hand, or if there's big splits that they create on certain plays. So that's something that we won't talk about a ton today, but if you see certain things, then tell your guys about it so that they're heads up on it. Also want these guys to be really clued into the down and distance, okay? Because on early downs, we're completely clued into our key, and that's how we're going to get off the football. Okay, on pass downs, that's when we're really going to pin our ears back, and we're going to key the football, okay? But that's why they need to understand the down and distance. Okay, really talk about, perfecting what you can control up front, all right, each play. All right, and those two things being the stance and the alignment. I don't have a ton of notes on the stance. I think we have a decent general understanding of what a good defensive line stance is. But for us, our two inside guys, they're going to basically be toe to inseam, okay, shoulder width apart. We want those guys to be square. The biggest thing that we really want is their toes to be pointed forward. All right, butts up, good arch in the back, eyes are up really to the V of the neck of your target. And the other thing is we want their hands to be up right up underneath their chin. Okay, we like it when their thumbs even already pointed up, because when we strike, we want their thumbs to be up. And we'll talk about that as well as we go. For our defensive ends, they really go maybe toe to heel. We allow them to go toe to inseam, but they can even back it up a little bit and go to toe to heel as well if that feels more comfortable for those guys. And when it comes to the alignment, all right, we do something a little bit different when it comes to defensive tackle and DN. Our DTs are going to be lining up basically tip to tip, shoulder to shoulder, all right? And we want those guys to be really square, because the blocks that they're going to be seeing is combination blocks, whether it's scoops or reaches. Okay, so we want those guys to be straight up square, okay, tip to tip, which is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, for the ends, we do something a little bit different where we're going to tilt those guys every single base rundown. We like tilt a little bit when it comes to pass rush as well. But we don't just tell them, hey, we want you tilted a little bit. The tilt that they're going to get in is basically if you can have a laser beam come out of your eyes when you're in your stance to go right through the back heel of the back near heel of the offensive line. All right, we do that for a couple reasons here. Coach, can I borrow here for a second? All right, and we keep it simple with them. We want to tell them, hey, you're only going to either get a block to you or away from you, right? And then you can get a pass set as well. But we're talking basically run here. When I'm through that near heel, even if the run's away from me, boom, I'm taking that step, and now I'm able to get square and get to his hip for, zone read and all that stuff. Okay, if it's a run to me and he's reaching me, boom, I'm taking a step through the heels, it's right there. Especially like a 315-pounder, if I'm aimed through that heel and he opens up to reach, I can strike that thing and I have all my power right there. Okay, The reason why we went more to an angled stance is because when they're square and I get a down block, there's first steps here, now there's separation, then you try to recover and you're crossing your feet over and all that stuff. So to me, I think it's most important, thanks Coach, is when you get a down block and for the zone read. Otherwise you get yourself out of position. So we're going to be tilted to touch. When we get to, again, the backfield set, okay, they're also going to look at that. They're both going to be angled. Unless we have a tight end to our side, we're always in a 6 technique, and we might get to that today if we have time at the end. But they're looking at the backfield set, and what's going to change if it is gun offset. If I'm away from the back, I'm going to widen out a little bit. Because I want this guy to come out and really reach me. Okay, if I'm to the back, he's going to tighten down. Because I'm assuming, A, I'm either just going to kind of get a hinge block here on the back side of the run, or if I get a down block, I want to be able to be in a good position to really squeeze to that hip for zone read. That makes sense? Okay, the inside guys, those guys will talk a little bit too, but you can also clear up some confusion and really play fast. If this nose right here knows that the back's away from him, all right, I know I'm going to probably end up getting a hard reach or a combination block right here. I'm probably not going to get a hard scoop block to my inside, right? The run's coming to me. So those guys will clue into that a little bit too. Hopefully, don't be telling everybody in the conference, but we like when we play gun offset teams so that we can kind of play fast up front. All right. So we'll dictate our alignment based off the backfield set. Generally speaking, when we're attacking blocks, we use this term right here. We call it hat hands. All right. And this is really how we get off the ball, how we're going to strike these guys. We'll talk about this, and then we'll get into some drills that we use to really apply it to the field. All right, when we're talking about hat and hands, it means everything. It means your attack, it means your feet, and that's how we talk about it. Okay, the hat, we're really working to get to that clavicle of the offensive lineman. We want our eyes to be up, all right? And the hat and hands come together because I don't want a guy to strike the offensive lineman with his hands first and keep his hat out. Okay, out here, you don't have any power doing that. Okay, we don't want guys turkey necking. The biggest thing in our program is we want them to be completely clued into the key that they're lined up on. All right, he will take you to the ball 99% of the time. All right, and that's how you're going to make plays. All right, with the hands, we want to strike through the clavicle, and we're really aiming through, kind of coach talk, but you want to attack half a man when it comes down to it. But really that shoulder, all right, and then the breastplate. Okay, we talked about sternum bicep. We kind of call this shoulder, and then breastplate. Okay, with the feet, we're just stepping for the D end. It's real easy. I'm stepping through that heel. All right, for the D tackle, that first step is going to the, really reacting to which way he's going. If I'm getting a scoop, I'm stepping, and it's all about that second step that's going to really set you up to be able to destroy that block. Okay, you have to be able to stay square inside, and we're going to really hammer that. What we really talk about with our guys with the finish is we want to play all the way through the offensive lineman's heels. Okay. So something that we do with our drills, we try not to use a bunch of whistles. All right, we want it to be more of a field. Okay, I can't explode with my hips until I get that offensive lineman onto his heels. Right, so there's no timer that goes off in your head to tell you that that's okay. You can't do it until you get him on his heels. So we'll do a lot of that. We'll do some whistles to start to kind of get him into it, but then the rest of the time it's just I got to feel him on his heels, and I'm going to explode with the hips. But really, that good position. Once I'm into my guy, I have a good, Z in the knees, good arch in the back, my eyes are up so that I can get that good finish. All right, which brings us to the finish. Okay, we want to explode with the hips once I get through the heels. The big thing is if your eyes are down, you're not going to be able to do this. Okay, so we really want those eyes to be up through your keys via the neck. And the hips roll forward, and then once he gets out of position, that's when we're able to really disengage, throw rips, and get him on his face. Okay, here's some drills that we do with our guys. This is actually this Thursday morning. We'll do these on the field too when we're in full pads. Once we really break into this thing. What we call this 1,000 steps. There's no key in front of them. It feels really, really awkward at first. But the most important thing that we're working on here is just the footwork. Okay, we want to work 1,000 steps. When we're teaching this stuff, we're just going really 5 yards here, but you can see they're shooting the hands. Okay, this is Joe Horvath from Stevens Point. He's playing too high right there, right off the bat. But it's going to feel weird. We tell them that you almost want to fall on your face. Okay, I want to stay low. All right, I want my chest over my toes. And when we shoot our hands, what we talk about is snapping our wrists together. Okay, that's the term that I really came to like, because we want their elbows to stay in tight. All right, we don't want to attack blocks with our palms facing like this, or our elbows way out here. You don't have power right there. So we really work on snapping our wrists together and keeping our thumbs up. Feet stay shoulder width apart, another big emphasis in this drill. And it's really just, again, just get that feel of the feet. So that it feels easy once we start applying pressure and you put that bag in front of them. Shooting the hands, quick feet, elbows got to be in tight. He does a good job right here keeping his chest over his toes. All right, and then we'll also do this, okay? So if I get like a reach block or a scoop block, we have to end up working at an angle when it all comes down to it, right? So we're not going to just run up the field. If I get a scoop block, I have to stay square and I have to gain ground with that front foot. But at the same time, I don't want to turn my hips when I'm attacking the guy that I'm on. So we'll create 45-degree angles here. And again, just real simple stuff. We'll do the same stuff on the grass when we have our cleats on. But we're working at a 45-degree angle. Okay, and I'll stand right back here, and all we want to see in this is that their hips are facing completely straight. All right, when we go to that next cone, my hips don't open to that cone. My hips are always square. So we're just gaining ground. It's just, we call this step and recovery. Got a great afro right here, you know? He's 5'9" to begin with, so it makes him feel like he's 5'11". Okay, so this one right here, you can see he's kind of turning those hips, and that's what we don't want, because if I get a scoop block and I start turning my hips, that's when he's going to win, right? That's what the offensive lineman wants. So we have to kind of fix that. Stay square with it. Kind of get the gist of that. It's really good when you go fast forward. Okay, which really brings us into, now we're going to work on throwing the hands, we're going to work on the hips. This one never plays. Here we go. Okay, we call this med ball hip explode. And we'll do this, you know, you guys seen on the field where you go 6 points. All right, you can do the agile when we're really working our hips and our strike and get off. In the gym, we'll do it different ways, just to kind of keep it fresh. We'll go with a med ball. And what's most important with this thing, and if you're doing a 6 point, you can do this with an agile in front of them, but you want to make sure that they're really coiled up, okay? If you're in an elongated stance in a 6 point and you go to explode with your hips, you're just going to come out and fall on your face, okay? So they want to be coiled up. You want to be tucked, have these toes tucked in. I really want to see these guys almost leap like a frog. We talk about taking off like an airplane. Okay, your back needs to be arched. I don't want to come out with my back, you know, pumped like that. Joe does a good job of coming off his feet, really exploding out. Still teaches, hey, my elbows got to be in, my thumbs got to be up for the strike. So that's really what we're looking for. And I mean, this is the best. I think we could do this drill all day. Just coming out of your stance, throwing the hands, keeping my back arched. I got my eyes up for the finish. Yeah. This is what it's all about. You can see that the other emphasis too is some of these guys, when we first did it, they wanted to pick the ball up first, like an offensive lineman. They got to strike that thing. Okay, we want to shoot those hands. So it's a little unrealistic with having the ball low, but still mostly for the hips with this one. That one was a little flat. He didn't do a good job exploding off his toes as much.
What weight are you guys throwing for that, Coach?
You can use whatever we had 10 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we'll use anywhere from like 8 to 14 pounds.
I just want to make sure the hips are engaged, but not make it too heavy that it's dragging.
Exactly. Basically use whatever weight allows them to do it perfect with the technique.
Gotcha.
Yep. The idea of that one. You know, we got to get creative in the gym. We've done some of these just for hat and hands. Now we're not, you know, on a 6-point. We're just coming out of a 2-point here. And I'll just say, set, go. Okay, we're just working on the first 2 steps. Pop, pop. All right, working the hands. Thumbs are up. Want to, you know, it's tough to engage. I don't want to hit the head on the concrete here, but just again, that following with the hat and the hands, and your feet are going to follow from that. It's all about the strike. Just a quick 1-2. You can do it with running the feet right after it. Obviously, we don't have sleds inside, but we'll do the same thing with the sleds. When we go through our sled progression, we work the hat and hands without doing total hips. All right, we just get out of our stance, hat and hands, and they'll just run their feet, and they just want to compress that thing. I just tell them I want to hear the metal just ache. All right, you just want to strike that thing, get all the way through the heels, and then the next one, like I said, we don't really use a whistle to get in and then pop up through the hips. We just say, hey, this time we're finishing with the hips. Once you feel it compress, then we can explode with the hips. So same idea, we just are new with the sleds. Get the idea of that one there. All right, next that we'll do is, you know, we want to work on footwork, okay? This isn't as much for just straight up run, but we do a ton of agiles. I want to see these guys move their feet extremely quick. So we'll do this to warm up. You know, like I said, when we do indie, we do our everyday drills, and then we do stuff where we want to, you know, fit up what we're going to see that week. That's realistic to what we're going to get on the field. Okay, when we do these agiles, we start with just going 1 foot in each one. And we want quick feet, but I don't want these guys playing high. Everything's still with chest over the toes. I want to drive from the hips as I go over the top of that thing and not just hop over the top. So we get better as we go here, but we've got to keep our chest over our toes. Really pump from the arms still as we run. So now we just go 2 feet in each hole. Work those things, firing the pistons. Got to keep our eyes up. He's a converted offensive lineman, so we're kind of working through some of this stuff. See, this isn't good either because he's kind of galloping. I want to get those feet in and out extremely quick. All right, and then we'll do other things just for the change of direction. Okay, then we'll get over lateral. All right, and then we're planting and really moving to a target. Just the same as if it's a boot or something like that, or if it's feet option, I got to stick my foot in the ground and really get there the best way possible. Don't want any wasted steps. So these guys like this stuff. I mean, just kind of creating indie whenever you get this time. You know, we don't want to kill them this morning, but creating competition within the own group. If we set up 2 different drills to really make them compete, you know, it keeps things fun. Keeps things fresh throughout the week when it's week 10 and it's freezing outside. Just have them compete out there for a little while. Yeah, so get the idea of that one. For this one, let's skip ahead just a minute. Okay, we kind of implemented this right into the agiles as well. We kind of work cut blocks as we go over the top. We're working lateral. Boom, we're striking with the cut as we finish. Okay, with this, we didn't really do a good job this day, but what I want out of this is we're really pretending that the top of this bag is the helmet as they come through our kneecap. Okay, and what we can't have happen is as that thing comes to strike us, is really kind of pat it on the back and allow it through to our knees. I want to see their hands strike the top of it. Okay, impede the progress, and then you might have to give up a little bit of ground and then finish. Okay, but if you hit the top of the bag and allow him to get into your legs, you know, you're accepting them into your body and allowing them to cut it. We're really aiming. That was bad right there. Just kind of tapped it right into his leg. All right, and then we do one where we flip the hips. I like kind of throwing this into any drill that you can. I mean, they're almost working on pass rush when they don't even know it, but when they can flip the hips, and really continue with the smooth transition, I think that's big time. Okay, good job. Again, striking the top of the helmet and keeping progress, giving up a little bit of ground. Not a great job right there. At the top of the bag. Gotta know which way to go. Yeah, this isn't the greatest day we had with this. That was a good one. Strike the top of that bag. That was a good one. Giving up a little bit of ground with the finish. I don't have a lot of drill tape, so I'm not trying to pick on this guy, but I have to show this clip. It might be in America's Funniest Home Videos when it's all said and done. Okay, Coach Dickinson is our former GA, and we love him to death. But okay, he starts to kind of lose his balance here. All right, he comes back in. Okay, your cover's well. Takes the guy's knees out, right? It's ridiculous. We almost just called it a day and went home after that. It's a slick one. We gotta mop this thing before we get in there, I guess. But make sure when you guys do this thing that you slow it down just a little. Not good. Everybody pretty much just stopped. Anyways, we'll move on from there, but might have to slow the drill down. Okay, we'll do agiles too with that a 45, just like the step and recover. Okay, I'm attacking a block, I'm gaining ground with that front foot, and we just add the cut off of it. You don't have to watch all these. Just different ways to get their feet going, working at different angles, flipping the hips at the top. Coach Hoffman just got there. I wish he would have done a couple minutes earlier. All right, now here's what we're going to really work on. We'll do this stuff outside, okay, at every position. I just had the D tackles doing it this morning, but it's combination blocks, right? It's talking now we're really applying everything that we have worked on, okay? I want to really strike my target, and we'll watch some game film of how this all carries over. But here's the nose right here. Here's the center, the guard. We're just really getting a reach, right? The biggest thing to focus on is your key. I want to keep this front hip square as I attack that block. Okay, I want to create separation, and then this combination block, okay, they're not going to be able to finish it. As long as I'm clued into on my key and I stay square, and I'm at great pad level throughout. Okay, so we work these all the time. You know, if we're going to play a power team or we're going to get a bunch of pulls, then we'll work power. But for us, what we see mostly throughout the year is a ton of zone. Okay, now it applies to all positions too, right? Okay, so that was the nose, guard, and the center. Now we just have our three techniques. So this is the guard, here's the tackle. Okay, they all get the same blocks. Okay, it's inside zone, staying square. Great job with the feet. It's just like the step and recover drill when we're working at 45. And I don't care about this guy. I just want to stay square, create that separation, and then what's going to happen right here if it's like inside zone flex? That cutback's coming, right? Okay, so if I play my guy, he's going to take you to the play every time. So that's the biggest thing that we really try to break, you know, habits of once they get into our plays. We've got to make sure that they're really clued in on the key that they're lined up on. Okay, perfect example. Joe's been in the program, did a good job there. This is actually a junior college transfer right here, and what's he want to do? He wants to olay that thing. This isn't good. Okay, that's not hat and hands and not staying square. He's got a really narrow stance, so we got a lot of stuff to fix. But he opened those hips, and if this offensive lineman right here, D-line, I mean, he's not going as hard as he can, but he's going to overtake you every single time if I try to olay that. There's a time and place for it. If I get really hard outside zone, you can kind of olay it a little bit. But inside zone, you got to stay square on your threat. We'll talk about that a little bit. Again, great job liking to finish up and keep his eyes up and really get him through on his heels. But great job staying square, keeping that front hip square, playing through the heels of the offensive lineman. And this one's hard to finish with the disengage, but when we have jerseys to hold on, we'll really work on once we get that separation, throwing them and finishing with the rip. Okay, so that cutback is going to fall right in your lap. So we'll do it every single way. As we go, inverted O-line, we've got a lot of stuff to work on. It'll be a fun project. Playing high, see his hands are coming from underneath, not good. You got to strike those things. Keep that front hip square.
Earlier, yeah.
Okay, just do it the other way. Okay, what we also work on, do any of you guys play a G technique, 2I? A little bit? Okay, the big thing that we need to work on, it's a little different for the, if this is a 3 technique, you get a guard and a tackle, and we get a reach. Okay, what we want to do is we want to build a wall. We're not so much in the, I don't want to like give up ground and show color in my gap. What we really want to do is build a wall. I don't care if I'm even head up on that guy to finish. Just drive him completely back, keep a square-toed stance as I go. But this right here is our nose, and he's in a G. So here's the center guard. This is his gap. If this center is moving, the toughest thing with him is with this run, the cutback's going to happen off his tail. So he needs to work to get flat with this combination right here. So that's the difference. That's why you kind of see him really working flat. But now when we get our 3 techniques in, okay, Joe's dressed like a WWF wrestler this morning. But I don't know what he's doing there. But we want to build a wall. Okay? When they open up, we don't really necessarily finish with a bunch of rips up the field, because if I do a good job building a wall, we don't want these guys to be robots either. If you get the cutback, fall in and make it. Okay, you did a good job ripping, but right here the run's coming. Okay, so be in a position where you can take him and get rid of it. So just really kind of talking through leverage, understanding where the run and the cutback's going to be. Okay, we'll get some game film here. All right, so kind of going through everything again. We're going to look at the backfield set when we line up. Okay, the end right here, he's saying you. Okay, we got gun offset. The run's going to you. Okay, he should be tightened down a little bit here. If you are getting zone read, so that he can sit and be in a good position. Okay, when we talk about sitting, we want to be at the line of scrimmage. We want to really get to his hip, almost reach and feel for it. We don't tell them a whole bunch of stuff. We don't say cut the keep the cut, all that stuff. We just really say you have first threat off the offensive tackle's butt. That's it. Okay, so just stay square. Don't get up the field. All right, and be in a position where you can stick this foot in the ground and drive and push everything out. Okay, that's the same stuff with the agiles and stuff, and sticking your foot in the ground and going. They can't hop into that thing, because now that I've hopped, these quarterbacks are good athletes, especially even at your guys' level. The best guy in the field always plays quarterback. So you got to be able to react. Again, the nose really understands with that back being away that I'm going to probably get some type of combination block coming this way. So he's overemphasizing with that foot, staying square on his threat. Doesn't matter what the center's doing. Okay, good job right here. The tackle can't work the combo with the guard. He's staying square on his guy. This is something, we got to make sure that we really get this edge set before we fall in and do any of that stuff. So it was a little too early right there. Sometimes we've got caught in positions where we think it's there and then it bounces out. Make sure that we're playing all the way through the fields. Okay, so same thing, you can see a little bit. When I didn't really talk about it a ton, but if we get pistol, now our ends, obviously everybody on the field has to just be under control. I have to play my threat. I don't know which way the run's going. Okay, so they're really in just kind of a healthy alignment. Nobody's extremely tight, nobody's extremely wide. Both in a position to where if I get a block to me, I can play it, or I can sit. Okay. What I hate about right here is just hopping with the feet a little bit, but it does it, again, a good job of just pointing one guy. That's the biggest thing that we emphasize. Within sitting to the hip with the zone read, what our guys are really coming into right here is they want to see the hands of the quarterback. Okay, don't look at everything else. Those guys do a good job of riding that thing and really making sure that you're influenced and then yanking it out. Just see the football, less is more when I'm sitting. Okay, just be in a really relaxed position. I'm seeing that ball. If the QB's hands are empty, now you can be a little bit more more aggressive and go past the tackle's butt. Okay, if the hands are full, I'm at that tackle's butt, now I gotta stick my foot in the ground, I gotta get flat. Right here you saw, and this quarterback this week, we knew he wasn't really gonna run it a lot, so he's cheating probably, but you see the hands are full, now I can be aggressive. But if they're just continuing to ride this thing out, you can't turn your hips and get yourself in a bad position. You gotta just stay square. Let it all sort itself out. And not the best job, if we're getting kind of just these laissez-faire kind of base blocks, and we don't really want to turn our hips around this guy. We want to stay square, just high stab it out. Okay, if I feel that thing and he's for sure committed inside, now we can disengage and go. But, he's kind of turning his hips and getting up the field. It creates a big alley right there. All right, here's the situation. If this ends right here, he's in the 6 technique, but this is considered 2-back. Okay, we call it a pair. So what should he be telling to this open-sided end? Swipe, 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 swipe. Okay. Doesn't matter where the running back's at. If it's ever 2-back, our end is going to be in a tight position. Okay, so if we get split zone, he's coming back at us. So that the wider we are, it's obviously you're just kind of creating yourself and putting yourself in a bad spot because he's going to have a lot of angles on it. If you hide yourself and tighten down, okay, with that step, it's going to make it for a tough swipe. So he's tightened down, backs to him, good job sitting. Again, less is more, he's just chilling. Off the tackle's butt, and I just make the play. Okay, good job that I know he's playing a little high, but staying square on his guy. But that's definitely the biggest thing. We do this a ton, you saw the D tackles working on the Indy. We'll sit in the gym, we'll have one guy lined up, the DN working through the heels of the tackle, and I'll play kind of quarterback and I'll make sure he's looking at the hands. And we work on this all day. Just working on sitting, planting his foot in the ground, pushing it flat to his help. And a good job right here by Jeff Raymond from Edgar, Wisconsin, staying square on his guard. Tackle has to come off. Now he's in position to come back and make it. Okay, again, pistol, we got to be in a good tight position, not too wide, not too tight. Square, see the hands full, we'll make the play. It's the snowball. All right, again, another good situation where 3 techniques, they can play fast. We got a kind of a stunt going here, but he knows the back's away from him. So be aggressive, set that edge. He's building a wall, high stabbing through it. Okay, the nose understands that, hey, I'm probably going to get some type of base or scoop right here. Attacking one guy. Really just those guys understanding where the running back's at, take care of it by themselves. He gets it set, now he has nowhere to go except into the nose of his lap, as long as he's playing square. Good job sitting by the end. And another reason why we've got to be in a great position was, it doesn't play into the lap of these guys if this guy has his hips turned and the quarterback's on the yankee. So it all works together. Like I said, don't want these guys to be robots. Again, he's square, taking care of his block. Just make sure that we're disengaging and doing a good job. But again, if we play the reach and we really set that edge, we don't have a problem with guys falling in and making plays. As long as they're keying through their guy and allowing their guy to take him to the play. All right, another situation here where we get the swipe, really clued into that thing. Okay, we call it spill, wrong arm. Really dipping our shoulder through that thing, and I want to reduce the surface for him to block. Okay, as he's coming, I'm stepping through the heels of that tackle. It creates a really tough angle for that guy swiping back. I'm going to dip the shoulder, and I want to explode through the half of his body. Okay, but I don't want to show him my inside digit because if I do that too quick, he's going to get into my chest. So hide and protect myself to the tackle. I see my threat coming. Boom. Okay, I'm running right through that thing, and then I want to get vertical. The toughest part is that now offense has got this pretty bypass play. So these guys get all, cranked up, and they want to spill space off, and then he keeps running right past him, right? So that's why we kind of really stay square, really look at his path. Does he look like he's threatening you, or otherwise is there no air down the line of scrimmage? If there's no air, then go get it. If he's really wide, then just sit and protect yourself. It's not, he's not even there. Now I'm sitting. Okay, then it turns into this guy, then it's just really zone read. It doesn't matter if he's there. You gotta be ready to push the quarterback out. But we'll drill that too. So we'll have a tackle. I'll be back here playing quarterback and a D lineman as a running back. And then we'll have a swiper. I'll tell him, hey, let's bypass this play. Or otherwise, hey, this time it's split zone. We're going to come to crack. So the D lineman really has to understand if he's coming to him or if there's space for him to just continue sitting. Speed it up. Get into some other things here. But hopefully, if you guys understand, to take anything away from today is just staying square with your hips when you're attacking blocks, especially the combination blocks. It doesn't matter how athletic or strong you are. To give yourself a chance, you got to stay square. You got to play your threat. That's what we really try to hammer into our guys. Wanted to really touch on movements here real quick. What we talk about, this is just really simple one-gap movements. Our progression going through it and how we teach it. Okay, we're going to take a lateral step with our inside foot to the gap that we're moving to. Okay, it's really a 6-inch step. But the thing that we really emphasize is we don't want to turn that toe as we go. Okay, we want it to be square-toed step with our toes still up the field. Okay, the reason being is we're really clued into the man that we're lined up on, right to our inside, right? And to make it simple, we just talk about heads or tails. Okay, if that guy that I'm lined up on, I'm moving to that gap, if he's blocking to me, we call it heads. Okay, you got to get ready to redirect. And it makes it tough to redirect if my toes are pointed that way as I'm stepping. So it has to be up the field so I can stick that foot in the ground and get to where the run's going. If my threat's away from me, okay, then we just call it tails. We got 2 different ways that we do it with our guys. But now I really want to step and cross over and get to the gap I'm ultimately responsible for it. Okay? Got some examples coming up here. For the DNs, we kind of cheat. We cheat the movement. Okay, so as we're lined up on our key, if I'm moving to this the B gap right here, and the tackle goes down, I'm going to crush his body into that gap. I'm going to make sure there's no air. I'm going to be really physical and crush it, and then hopefully that dive or whatever it be, zone read or anything, I can just get my head across the dive and make it. But if you go across that tackle's face and he just catches you, that run's going to cut off behind you and you haven't really had an effect on play. So we cheat that thing. For D tackles, there's not a lot of time for everything to happen. Okay, it's going to hit quick. So if my threat's away from me, I've got to reduce my shoulder and I've got to get into the gap I'm ultimately responsible for. This is some crappy tape stuff to see, but what we do is we line them up, D tackles in one line, D ends in one line, and I'll really just point at those guys. Okay, hey, you guys are reaching, boom, I want to see the redirect. Okay, it's a down block, D tackles, you got to win, D ends, you're crushing. You got some better film here, but again, the toes, got to be pointed forward with that step. Now we know the run, my threat's taking me to the run. You get a toss, outside zone, I'm sticking that foot in the ground, I'm getting vertical. But not vertical up the field, I have to get at a 45. Really work to get back into that tackle's or guard's hip pocket. Again, down block. The big thing with the ends is they have to make sure, again, we're stealing gaps essentially. You have to get your hands on that guy. You have to crush the gap over that you're responsible for. If you just run off the line and kind of just keep going, you haven't taken care of your gap. You got to crush it down. Here's some better tape of it. Okay, so they're lined up, left, right hand down, we're stepping square-toed. Boom, we get a reach block, stick that foot in the ground, spend as little time as possible, and get going. Do it at that 45-degree angle. Here's some examples, a couple good and bad. This is such a great play, and it looks like he's not even doing anything. He's taking a square-toed step. It looks like he didn't even move. He's glued on this guy, he's taking that step. Boom, getting vertical right through his inside shoulder, forces the running back to cut back. So it's being controlled. Something else that we do, we talked about the ends kind of being tilted a little bit. When we move, we kind of try to get to square a little bit more. Because again, if you're angled, and you're taking this step and I got to redirect, it's tough. So if I'm square, take that step and then I can get going a little bit quicker. Okay, big movement right here, we call it a rack. Really working around that center. Boom, sticks that foot in the ground and getting vertical. Okay, this is what we call a go. It's just part of the blitz. All he's doing is really containing. Do a great job understanding leverage. Again, we don't want to be robots. Okay, if I know the run's cutting back, good job stepping and really high stabbing through that thing. The hat and hands. Just falling in the middle. Again, the nose, stepping with that outside foot, ripping up underneath this threat. Got to cut the run off. And here's the focus right here is on the nose, taking that step. Boom, getting vertical. Again, you can keep the back a touch if you're anticipating run. Again, if I'm lined up on this guy and I'm moving on the center and the back's away from me, you're probably thinking, hey, I got to get ready to redirect. Boom, stick his foot in the ground, get vertical. Go get it. You know, here's kind of an example of the end. We're on this tackle. He's multiple kinds, kind of a pirate going on here. Spiking to the A and sticking to the B gap. He's crushing the tackle down and then get vertical once your threat's coming. You should have gotten that fetal position that you were talking about. He almost kicked the thing all the way down to the end zone. Okay, this is what I really wanted to get to real quick today that I think is a great movement that we kind of added to our package is the cross game. So it's between the two defensive tackles and it's great versus zone. We'll kind of talk about it as quick as possible here. It's not a predetermined movement. Okay, so really we're working on, I'll cut the guys here. Do this. Okay, it's a run game movement. You can be the tackle, maybe over here. Okay, you're the center. Okay, we're both going to be, you can be in whatever front that you want. Okay, it could be an even, we're mostly out of our over front. And what we're doing is we're both taking a step to that A gap. Okay, and we're both keying the center. All right, the center's away from me. I'm the penetrator. I want to make sure that I cut the run off. That's my number one goal. Okay, I take that step. I'm going to ear hold this guy. Okay, the center. And then I want to make sure I come off his ass and I'm making sure that I get the run cut off back to my partner. Okay, if the runs, you can exchange with me. If the center's to you, I'm really holding this guy. I don't want to hat and hands all the way through him and get caught up too much. You're really just high stabbing that thing and holding him. And then I'm holding him for that ear hole. Boom, he's coming through, the run's going this way. And then we're sitting off the hip right here for that cutback. Okay, we got some film for it. Thank you. And again, not predetermined. We're stepping and looking at that center. It's great for the pass too, and we'll talk about that as well. But the biggest thing with this, if that center's away, you have to get everything cut back. You have to force all runs to cut back to your partner. And we'll talk about if the center's to you, the thing that you're going to really have to hammer with these guys with the center is that after he gets ear hold, they're going to want to open up and run. Okay, what he has to understand, when that thing gets ear hold, there can't be any air off the ass of the center. Otherwise, there's going to be the cutback. So this is how we drill it. Okay, we're just on our guys here. We're just clued in on the center. Okay, make sure that they kind of have a squared stance so that he can step with the foot that's, it's different because he's stepping with his foot that's essentially up. So if you even the feet a little bit. But he's holding. You get the ear hole. And then again, this is another thing where it's less is more. He just wants to sit for that cutback coming back to him. We got game examples coming as well. So again, you can run this out of any front. You could be in a green with 2-3 techniques. You can be in evens on these guards. Whatever fits your scheme the best. You can even walk a backer up and run it with a D tackle. Okay, the biggest thing is with the hands too. I have to get it to that center, and he needs to turn his shoulder away from that guard. So if the center's going this way, if I have my shoulders exposed, that guard is going to overtake me. If I get my shoulders turned, then I'll really be able to cut that run off. So you got to get the hands to that shoulder. And it's okay if this guy traps you, because ultimately the B gap is somebody else's responsibility. Got a good one coming over here. He really took the hero emphasis to play here. I'm sure they're already excited to be up at 6 a.m. doing this and gets here. Okay. So we kind of talked about the backfield set. If it's pistol, you don't necessarily know which way the run's going, but this movement can carry over if it's gun offset as well. And it's not gun offset right now. Let's say the back was right here. Okay, the D tackle is going to kind of play quick with that, understanding that, hey, I'm probably going to be the ear hole run cutoff guys. Okay, if the back's away from me, I'm probably going to be the one engaging and sitting. So here's it kind of coming to effect, taking that step. Did not do a good job of dipping this outside shoulder, right? The guard got into his chest. He still gets through, but he'd make it a lot easier on himself. You know, when there's two backs and you don't know which way the run's going, just keep the center. Really good job holding that guy. Okay, now this, the penetrator is really just, you know, you're almost throwing an alley-oop to your partner. You just got to sit down and finish it. Gets the run cut off, sit his hips down, see this air. You know, if he was hitting this thing with a full head of steam, that wouldn't be the best. That's why it literally feels like you're doing nothing. You just got to sit your hips down. But we like it. You know, it's something that I think is really good versus zone. That's simple. You know, forcing, just getting that thing cut back and then taking advantage of the cutback. Good job by the nose this time, holding it just a second, 94. There's no air pretty much off the tail of the center. Again, good job, no air. That cutback's going to fall in your lap. You should assume that's going to come to you. Again, gun offset, I'm thinking that I'm the ear hole guy. Okay, this is one where, okay, the back's away from me, but the center there, it's a gap scheme. Okay, so now we got the center away, but it still works if you just read your key. Boom, the ear holes, the pick back, nose is over the top, gets in there and play. So we essentially kind of stay away from when we see two back personnel sets from running this. We don't do it a ton, you know, because there's enough stuff going on with the backers to make sure we fit everything up. But when you're just getting one back football and getting zone run, you know, we love it. Getting the ear hole, sitting it down. And these guys love it too, because you're basically, you know, everybody else can take a knee. You get the run cut off, I get the cut back. It's like 3 tackles.